Hi, my name is Anton Månsson. This is the Ultimaker 3. It's said to be a professional 3D printer made accessible. That's accurate, consistent results, highly complex 3D prints, industrial grade materials, maximum performance and future-ready 3D printing with ultimate accessibility. Will the new Ultimaker 3 fulfill those promises? I think we have to have a look. So, as you might know, at this time there are no, or at least few, community reviews on this machine, at least when this video is coming out. So, just with my Replicator Plus review that you can see up here, there's some bugs, there's some firmware updates, and there's some stuff like this to be expected. Since this is a little bit of an early machine, it might not be the final super duper final firmware that is delivered with the customer's machines. And I borrowed my machine from Creative Tools, as you can see around here. So this is not a machine sent by Ultimaker. Well, I suppose that the introduction gave you a little bit of intro to the machine, what's it capable of, what it's supposed to do, and what it's aiming for. So I'd say that no, it's not a replacement for the Ultimaker 2 Plus. It's the new focus completely for Ultimaker, or completer. It's kind of out with the cheap, tech-savvy, super open source feeling of the machine, which it still kind of keeps, but it's in with the high professional grade, super duper industrial, nice words 3D printer that's supposed to be revolutionary and solve all your issues that you might have with 3D printing. That sounds like a major change in the direction of Ultimaker, and I think that we need to dig a little bit deeper into the machine and see what's changed and why it's here and why it's a pretty interesting machine. So, since this is a major release of a 3D printer from Ultimaker, this video will probably be a bit long. I'll try to make some chapters that you can see in the menu just in a few seconds, and you will be able to skip ahead. So, for example, the unboxing, the software might not be interesting for you, but the software is pretty cool, so you should check it out. I'll have a bunch of printing, a bunch of models out, and I will try most of the materials I can get hold of, but especially PVA and PLA, since those are like the main materials made for this machine. We'll run the rest as well, and let's start off with the menu. Okay, so I think it's time to talk about a few of the new main features. So the biggest one, of course, is the dual extrusion, where you have the ability to print with two filaments at the same time. So you can either use like hard and soft materials, you can use PVA as build support, you can use PETG and ABS, or PETG PLA, and all different combinations. And it's also doing that with a kind of cool approach to it. So it has two of these kind of build cores. They're kind of similar to smart extruders, really, that everyone was bashing about, but it's not the same thing. But it's still the ability to withdraw these build cores is pretty sweet. With that comes also a active leveling. So you have a leveling script that I'll show you in a bit. You also have a camera inside here, so you can look at the printer and see what you're doing. So basically monitoring. And it works really great. And of course, again, PVA is a really big ability here to have dissolvable support materials. That is something that you, well, as a built-in feature, only really got from high-end machines. Now, with that said, it's something that you can probably explore a little bit, and we'll investigate that later with this machine and with other machines as well. So it's a really good feature to have announced from the manufacturer, which means more support, more reliability. But it's nothing new, really. It also has, of course, the much improved Bowden, so it has a much improved gearing system and improved motors to make sure that you get the best possible extrusion with the Bowden extruder. You also have a redesigned fan and shroud design, so you have, again, a really efficient PLA cooling and also a very stable temperature overall, the printing. You also have NFC chips on the Ultimaker's own materials, which means that the machine can warn you if there's a mismatch between your settings and your actual loaded filament, which is a good warning to have, but I failed to have appreciated that much. I mean, in an environment where you have a lot of users, inexperienced users, maybe let's say a school, for example, I think it could be a good idea to have a extra warning step before you try to extrude ABS with the PLA settings, for example. But other than that, in the day-to-day use, well, it's probably okay. You also have the USB now instead of a memory card, so I guess it's easier for the whole system and easier for you as well. You probably have more USB thumb drives laying around than memory cards. That's a good upgrade. You also have the Wi-Fi, of course, so you can print over Wi-Fi, which is pretty sweet. It works good, but I haven't had any serious issues with it so far. You also have the Ethernet port, of course. You can print via network, really. So you can put up a lot of machines and go through them from Cura and print from there. And also, you should mention that Cura has a really good new upgrade for running this machine that is working really well. We'll have a closer look at that very soon. So it's now time to set up the machine. As you see, I've already done it, but I'm going to run you through the different things. So we need to attach the spool holder, which includes the NFC part, so we actually need to plug in a cable there. So you can see here how that's done, quite simple. And then of course we need to load the print cores that are, I really like them, they have a really cool design. So we just have to load them. And with that said, it's time to load the filaments. So first off, we just select load. It will move the print head and it's ready to detect the new material. So just hang the spool and it detected the PLA. So we're showing here just hanging along the spool, loading the filaments, and then it starts heating. And before we do anything more, we should always make sure that we calibrate the plate. My machine came really well calibrated from the factory, but I also want to make sure that we do a little bit of extra calibration. So to do that, we go to Systems and down to the build plates, where we will find manual or active leveling. So we're going to do the active leveling. Manual leveling, you should only do that if you kind of like rebuild the machine. So the machine will prepare a little bit, it will communicate to you with the LEDs. I don't know what they're saying, but they're saying something. And then the machine will start moving around. So you can see here how the build plate slowly moves upwards and it will have contact with the right extruder. And yes, that is supposed to be down like that, since it will move up and down during printing. So it then checks a few different points, and like so, and like so, and so. Yeah, I sped that kind of up. So after that, it asks me how often you want to do the active leveling. And you could choose every day, but I'm going to choose every week, since after this review I'll probably use this machine a little bit less. And that's it, let's go printing. Okay, so let's have a look at the Cura software. So this is the version 2.3.1. It's one of the latest releases that support the Ultimaker 3. So there's a few different things here. There's better speed, you have multi-extrusion support, custom machine support, improved positioning tools, improved grouping, enhanced profile management, and blah, blah, blah. You can read the blog post from Ultimaker if you want to know all of the different settings and changes. So what's really interesting for when you're using the Ultimaker 3, of course, is this here. So we have the Ultimaker 3 machine selected over here on your right side. And we also have the two print cores. Now this is really interesting. So as you know, and hopefully I've told you before, you have the different print cores that are, well, of course I should select automated here because I'm actually connected to the machine. So sorry, let's just start off here with, this is the machine that I'm now connected to. I'm looking through the camera inside the machine. And I can of course monitor the temperatures here. We can see the different settings. Build plate, different temperatures here. We don't have any jobs running right now, so that's not really interesting. So let's just go back. And what we can do here is that we can select automatic cores here. So when I select the left and the right printhead, I can change settings myself if I want to create a sliced G-code for another printer. Right now, when I click automatic, the machine will actually detect what kind of print core is inside the machine, and also what kind of material that is connected to this. So here's where the NFC comes into play. It will detect what type of material. So I actually have it loaded right now with the settings for, with the original materials. So I think that is pretty sweet. Of course, I can change this if I want to make another print, and I can manage the materials, add in a lot of different things. I think this is all pretty cool. And of course, you have your generic profiles and so on. So there's really a lot of good stuff available here. Of course, you have your profiles here, which I'll go through in a minute. But here you can change everything. You can use the data and create your own really high-end profiles if you want to do that. And I do recommend you to create some support profiles that are changed, but I'll show that later. So first of all, we have the recommended settings. So these are more or less the less advanced settings. So you can go here, you can say, I want to have a draft print, 0.2 millimeters. I think that is kind of safe. I think fast print shouldn't be 0.15, fast print should be like 0.25, but I guess I can change that myself. Sure, normal quality should be maybe 0.15, but it all depends on who you are. But obviously Ultimaker is aiming at, when you want to do a draft print, you'll be happy with 0.2. But just remember, you can of course put this to 0.3, 0.35 for example, to get some really fast prints that are of course bad quality and bad surface finish. You can get some really good prints there. So you can create profiles from these settings if you want to do that and stuff like that. So I'll go with, for example, a draft print. I'll go with, let's say here we have the different settings here. I'll do light prints. 20% is pretty good. I still think this should be maybe something in between 20% and 0, but okay. And it can also help you, do you want to have some print plate adhesion? It's usually a brim. And we have the supports that don't print support or print support with the same core. So if I only want to do a single print, which is fairly often something you want to do. You don't always want to use the PVA. I mean, PVA is all good, but it takes a lot of time to print. So if you don't have a really important model, you can always do the same type of prints that you do with other machines where you have one single material, support material. And of course the printing with the print core too, so this, in this case, PVA. And that's about it. All we have to do then is to of course import a model. And it does that quickly. It starts slicing as always. And you can see that with a draft setting of 0.2 millimeters with support, this will take 5 hours. And we'll use around 18 grams of PLA and 19 grams of PVA. Sorry, I'm going to show you that a little bit easier. So you see here, this is the print time. Then we have, oops, sorry. I can't see the timer, sorry about that. Let me just move that a little bit for you. Didn't really work as planned, never mind. And we're using 2.34 meters and 2.46, so that's 18 and 19 grams. This is the dimension of the prints. With that said, I think it's more important to start looking at the different settings here. So one of the examples that I printed was a 3D Benchy upside down. So I'm going to show you the settings I used for that. We used a normal quality. We used PVA as support. I think we did a light here as well. And if we look at the, it's just slicing down here. You can look down here, it takes actually 15 hours. And it's 20 gram material and 34 grams of PVA. So I really don't like the amount of PVA materials are used. So here you can see it has a lot of support material. Now, I did an experiment where we can see the difference between this. I'll go through that later. But in general, I think all the settings are a little bit too safe. This is also pretty interesting. The settings are too safe, so if you are an unexperienced user, I guess it's kind of good, but the whole Cura mentality is usually that you set up stuff yourself. So one way that we can speed this up is that, well, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here. What I'm doing right now is just going through the normal tools here of moving, scaling, rotating, mirroring, copying, and so on. So I don't think that's anything really impressive or new. So the user interface is something that you can check out on your spare time. It's free to download. But so as I said, this took way too long to slice, so there's a few changes I want to do. So we can go over here to the custom menu and let's just jump into the details. So in here in the custom, we can of course change a lot of different things, but I recommend you to experiment a little bit with this setting here, the support. Now, what I did was I went over here, made sure that I activated a lot of these different support settings that aren't visible in the beginning. And when I changed a few settings here, for example, we don't need the support to be that tight. We have a, let's just see here, we have, for example, an interface that is 1 millimeter, and I think that is way too much. Let's go down with 0.3, which is 3 layers. So this is between the support material and the actual model. So with that, we've already reduced 3 hours of printing time. And also one of the things that we can do is to reduce the size of the prime pillar, because that really, it's a big lump over here. That takes a lot of time to print. So we've now shaved off 5 hours, so that's a 33% save, more or less, which is quite a lot actually. And we still have really good print quality. Sure, there will be a few different things that might be visible, but I mean, we still saved a lot of time. If you want, for example, if we go here, you see that there is a little bit of overhang. That's also something you could change if you want to. So it's the support XY distance, the distance between the model here. It's also good to have a little bit of clearance so you don't affect the surfaces here. But just remember that is something that you can change if you want to. So, well, that's about it of the new settings in the support that I recommend you to check out when you're printing with the PVA. I also want to show you how you can work with dual extrusions. So what you do is that you take in both of your models and well, both of your STL files, or more of course. So in this case, I want to have this model with another color. So on the left side here, I can go to per model settings and I can change this to the second core. Oops, now I have to change this back to a build core with PLA. Sorry about that. So there we go. It changes the color a little bit here, but I'll make that even more clear for you soon. So you can see the print time down here, 4 hours. What we actually need to do to get these centralized is to select both of them. So either Control A or selecting and holding down Shift. We'll right click and we get the option here to merge the model or even group them. But for dual extrusion, we want to do the merge. Ta-da! You can actually see now that it changed the saturation of the color, so it's a little bit easy to see that we have different materials here. Now, Cura actually makes the colors based on type of the material. So if we go up here to the print core and I'll change that to ABS, for example, it will make a much more bigger difference in color, so it's easier to see. And that's about it with the dual extrusion, really. What you can do, of course, is that you can change the prime pillar. You can take it off if you don't want to have it, but I recommend having it since it will make sure that you don't get any color mismatches, so the green will not go into the yellow brownish and stuff like that. We can also change here the build, the brim, if it should be on which extruder it should be. And what else do we have? Is there anything more? No, nothing really. So that's about it actually. So you can always, of course, Cura is free, so you can download it if you want to try out and experiment a little bit yourself and maybe get some print times down, because dual extrusion takes a lot of time with Ultimaker. Now there's a reason for it, and we'll probably check out that a little bit later, but just make sure that you're prepared that it takes time. It's reheating both extruders or the print cores. It's also moving up to this corner in the machine to do a maneuver where it lowers and raises one of the build cores, which is one of the reasons why it takes a little bit longer to print with dual extrusions, but it does it really, really well, and it has some good technical solutions to make it really good. So now let's leave the software. If you want to have a full-on guide and tutorial for beginners in Cura, please let me know and I'll do a separate video about that. Let's move on to the next chapter. So I also want to show you one of these steps that are really cool with the new PVA support material. So you can see here this model is printed with PVA supports. There will actually be a comparison video with this model coming shortly, so stay subscribed. But it's pretty cool. You can dissolve this in water. These two 3D benches were printed upside down with support material. One took 15 hours, one took around 8-9 hours. So I have some comparison images here. You can see that it isn't that much of a difference, but it's absolutely something you can notice. And if you have time, it's absolutely worth to take the longer time with your PVA supports. So just because I want to calm your curiosity, I did a time lapse of the dissolvement of support material as well. So you can just check that out, how that works, before we continue with the next chapter. So, what are my final thoughts after using the Ultimaker 3 for a while? I really do love it. It works very well and it prints with very nice results. The approach is a bit different from what we've seen before from Ultimaker, and they moved from what I would say is a prosumer to a more professional user oriented. So the machine is more of a professional machine, both when it comes to marketing, to price, and to the features. That by moving towards the sector of schools and professional users that the make about 5th gen aimed for, the Ultimaker does give you a pretty decent safety net to actually meet those professional users' needs with solvable supports, multi-extrusion, heated bed, connectivity, and so on and so on, that the 5th gen actually didn't reach or comply with at all. The Ultimaker 3 does this, and as long as you go all the way with Ultimaker materials, and when you do, you're going to have a very, very pleasant experience and very reliable results without any tinkering. With that said, it stops being that high-end, reliable, professional machine as soon as you start tinkering with the more advanced settings and using other materials. The features are of course still there, but using third-party filaments sets you back to, as a user to where other dual extrusion machines are, as long as it comes to tinkering with settings. You still have a great innovative systems, but you will still need to tinker with temperatures, extrusion rates, adhesions, and other stuff like that. This of course isn't a surprise for most users or most users owning a 3D printer already. But it might come as a shock to a professional user that have their Ultimaker 3 standing next to an object or an Arcam printer. I don't see it as a bad thing though. I see a machine that offers great potential for professional users with ease of use, the safety nets, the different features, making sure that you get good results. But on the other hand, you can also explore the more open side of the machine, where you can do experimenting with different types of materials, with new features like the print cores, and just adding a bunch of new materials that we haven't even seen come up in the world yet. So it's a great match of the two worlds. Now, a few negative things about the Ultimaker 3. The boot time is quite slow. It scares me every time that I've shorted the machine. It kind of boots up and then stops. The build plate is still a little bit... It's rigid, but I'm still kind of afraid that it will vibrate and wobble during printing. So especially when you have a big print, a heavy print, you should place it as far back as possible, since the build plate isn't supported in the front. There is poop almost everywhere when you use dual extrusion. Hopefully I have some images here. There are really, really small plastic parts that pop off when you switch between the extruders. Sure, you can just vacuum them up or clean them up, but there's actually small poop everywhere. It doesn't stick to the model, which is really important. And of course the 2.85mm filament standard. I'm not happy with it, but there's a few good machines using it, so I guess I can't affect anyone, but if you have another machine, make sure that it's 2.85mm as well, so you can use the same materials in the same printer. And Bowden isn't my favorite either. There's still a little bit of under extrusion happening, maybe not on the outer layers, but on the infill I've seen some, and that is with the standard settings from Ultimaker. So they should fix that, and they should fix it in factory. And then for me, the menu also feels a little bit old. I'd appreciate some sort of touch menu or maybe a bigger display or something. But yeah, it comes with the whole Ultimaker feel and standard with it. For me, the sensitivity when clicking, sometimes I click the wrong settings just because it hops one step. But it's just a small minor feature or bug or whatever you want to say. And now to a bunch of great stuff. So the noise level is very nice. It's very low, it's comfortable, you can have it in your office. And the looks, of course, I mean, it even feels good. It is a very beautiful machine, and the whole dual extruder designing is much improved from the 2 Plus machine. So I really, really enjoy that. And of course, the swappable print core is a really good feature. It helps with reliability, with uptime, and when there's larger and smaller nozzles in the future, that's going to be a very nice feature of the machine. And the precision with colors is also amazing. So the color swapping abilities, like in this model, is very, very nice. I mean, there's like 0.1% of color mismatching. So when the black goes into the white, for example, or in this case, red goes into the white, or vice versa. But I mean, it's very nice. It's the best I've seen so far. And the details, I mean, the details in the prints are extremely nice, especially when you're using Ultimaker's own materials. As long as you use the prime pillar, otherwise, when you don't do that, it can kind of stick a little bit more. The connectivity with the Wi-Fi, the USB and the LAN ports are very nice, works flawless, so that's a very nice plus. The NFC features are, for me, doesn't really help a lot, but it does. I can imagine scenarios where you have multiple users and they just slap on a filament and they think that it's in the right extruder, but maybe it's in the left. So the NFC will help you prevent any setting up like ABS in the PLA extruders and vice versa. So I think that is a really good feature, and it's also one of these, the all Ultimaker way. So as long as you go the all Ultimaker way, you will have all of those great safety nets and features. And maybe most importantly, the PVA support. The PVA is fantastic. It does really work. It's slow, but it works very, very nice. The result from these kind of prints are amazing. I've only had one small hiccup. It's actually a one missed layer of PVA, but it doesn't matter. The model still came out superb. So that's very, very nice. And also the ability to lift one of the nozzles. So this little feature where it lifts one of the nozzles up and down during print. It's also a really, really smart feature, and it helps tremendously when using two different materials or two different material types. So for example, a normal dual extruder like the Replicator 2X, the Freshwater Dreamer and so on, they have two extruders on the same height, and the other one can often hit the model, which can end up as a catastrophical print. Not with this machine. With that said, these are the main positive features, but an overall experience with this machine is very good, so very well done, Ultimaker. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed my very long review, and I will be happy to answer any questions in the comments field or at Twitter if you just hit me up at Anton Mensen. So you'll check that out in the description as well. Make sure that you subscribe and you like this video. It helped me a lot, and it also shows to people that you enjoy these kind of reviews and that Ultimaker should send review units to people. And again, if you're interested in filaments, printers, 3D scanners, 3D software, or just about anything related to 3D, you should also be subscribed. So with that said, I will see you in the next video. Enjoy your day.